Alright, so in this video, we're going to be testing the consistency of the rocket valves. So what I have right here, um, we have a stock MP5 rocket valve. I have another stock MP5 rocket valve, but on this one, I have included a grub screw for the sole purpose of testing whether the threads that protrude into the window where the gas should flow will interrupt the consistency of the valve. Okay, so I'll be comparing this one to this one, mainly just to see that. Then we have the Bowmaster aluminum valve. This one is primarily here because it has the smallest window of all the valves. So I'll be testing to see if if a really tight, narrow opening on the valve will improve consistency. Also, I'll be testing. This is a stock VFC in pass. I'll be testing the consistency of this against the rest of these, and then this one is I forgot exactly what type of the actual name of this type of valve, but it's pretty much that open type where the gas can flow all around it. Battery's dying on my phone. Anyway, I'll also be testing the consistency of this type of valve. Now, I think this one will have the better consistency, mainly because there really is no restriction on the flow of the gas. Also, it has a rubber or an O-ring right here. So my guess is that this one will have the best consistency, but who knows? This one might have better consistency. For the impasse, I know they're kind of hit or miss. But the more you shoot with them, I've noticed the better the consistency gets. So we'll see. I know as soon as you install an impasse, sometimes the consistency can be a little iffy. Now, I don't really care about the maximum FPS in this test. I only care about the deltas, the difference between one shot versus the next shot, right? That's what I'm testing, the consistency between the FPS or the joules. Now, to keep this as clean as possible, of course, I'll be using the same springs in every round. I'll be using stock nozzle, as well as the rear will be the same. But in order to test this impasse, I have to use this Bowmaster, the rear nozzle of the Bowmaster that I modified to fit that rocket valve. It also fit in there, so we'll be doing that. Now, an issue is that when you open up the back, you kind of disrupt the grease. You can contaminate it, so that might lead to some issues. So in order to prevent that as much as possible, I won't be opening the rear. Instead, I'll just be popping out the pin and removing the nozzle and putting it back in that way. It's a little bit harder to reassemble it with the rear of the nozzle still in the bolt, but it's possible. It's hard, but you can do it. So the only time I'll actually open up the rear of the bolt is to swap these guys out when I test that one. Of course, I will clean it after that and just use some food grade silicone grease. I don't really want to breathe in PTF grease. I don't like cancer. So food grade grease it is. And that's pretty much it. So I'm gonna get to the shooting. Now I will be doing full 30 rounds. I have 5 magazines. So each valve will have its own magazine. It's currently 92. It's 93 degrees in here, but the magazines are 92 point something degrees. So they're pretty hot. They're pretty consistent. They're warmed up, so they should be good to go. Each one is loaded with 30 rounds. I'll be doing 3 seconds or about 3 seconds between each shot. So it's going to take a while, but I think that's it. So I think we can get to the testing. All right, so I finally finished wrapping up the testing on these six rocket valves. Really quick, I don't think I mentioned it in the first part. The reason I chose to use the MP5 as the platform to test the consistency is because one, I know it's super easy to get the rocket valves out of the nozzle. You just push that pin out, put the rocket valve in the nozzle, and then put it back together. Also, it's super easy to modify the nozzle to accept different rocket valves. By default, it will accept any rocket valve I know from an MP7, but also it will accept the Marksman non-rocket valve. It also has, it can be modified to accept stock VFC in-pass style rocket valves. It also has aluminum rocket valves. In particular, this nozzle is aluminum, and also it has the smallest opening on the rocket valve that I could find or that I know of. So that was really good. So different variety of rocket valves, also different material. So we have plastic, we have aluminum. Also, there's a steel rocket valve in this one. For this steel rocket valve, it only fits in the Bowmaster aluminum nozzle. So I did have to use this nozzle to test that rocket valve. These five right here, though, they will fit in the plastic nozzle that I have. So these five were in this stock nozzle. The steel one was in the aluminum nozzle. If I can, I'll see if I can also fit this steel rocket valve inside of the SEW 9 or maybe the Marksman 9 nozzle and try to test the consistency on that, because I think this steel rocket valve will do better in a plastic nozzle. I think it'll seal better. When you have metal on metal, or so like the aluminum on the aluminum or the steel on the aluminum, I notice it doesn't seal as good, or it's not as consistent as like a plastic on plastic or like aluminum on plastic or steel on plastic. So just want to point that out. But anyway, there were three things I mainly wanted to test in this experiment. One of them being, I thought this rocket valve would fare better than the other ones because one, it really has no restriction. It's pretty much just open, and it has a O-ring to seal on the end. But as you can see, it did come in second, I would say, but it didn't do better than this VFC rocket valve. This one pretty much came out on top. Very good consistency, right? So on average, from one shot to the next shot, it would have 1.86 FPS difference, right, between the first shot and the next shot. So that was really, really great. And you can see the opening on this one is 5.23 at the widest, okay? Now, one thing I thought, or I assumed, I thought that this one would actually have better consistency or have good consistency as well. But as you can see, it actually had the worst. So from shot to shot, I would see on average 7.78 difference in the FPS, okay? Now, I can make assumptions as to why that is, but I'm not entirely sure. One thing I did notice is that, so the mouth on this, the opening on this one is actually the smallest. I just did earlier. It's about 3.38. It's actually, let's see. See, it's actually smaller than the opening on my nozzle. So maybe that has something to do with it. Yeah, smaller than that one as well. I'm assuming that has something to do with it because as the air rushes into the nozzle, let's say it's sitting like this, as the air rushes in, it comes to this opening, which restricts it, right? And then once it flows out of the rocket valve into here, it is wider, so it expands. That's the only thing I can gather from that. I don't know. I'll have to do more testing to see. I'll purchase more aluminum rocket valves and compare those to see if it's a material thing. I don't think it is because even the steel rocket valve did really well. It had a 2.6. That's not great, but it's way better than the stock rocket valve, which had a 3.84, and definitely better than the aluminum, which had a 7.78. But it looks like you just can't beat the VFC in-pass. It had really great consistency. It's plastic, so it's lightweight. So yeah, turns out smaller opening on your rocket valve doesn't improve consistency. But I do want to get more aluminum rocket valves just to test it out. So what I'll do is in the future, I'll try to see if I can get Bowmaster has a purple and a red rocket valve, both aluminum. I'll test those in here as well. I'll also see if I can get some of those aluminum MP7 rocket valves and test those as well, just to compare, try to get an apples to apples comparison. The only issue with that is right now, I think in order to get all of those rocket valves I want, I'm looking at spending $200 just because of tariffs. So it might take a while for that video to come out. Another thing I noticed, I actually had this video put together. I just never put it out or finished it before the Waldo impasse got released. So the next part of this video, I will be testing the Waldo Crimson impasse, and I'll just tack that data onto the sheet you're looking at, which is going to be like right here somewhere, so we can see how if the consistency on that one is any better than this guy. Right now I'm going to say it's probably not, probably won't be, but who knows, we'll see.